People are panicking over Prince William's latest move, and for good reason, because this feels final. There's no clear path back anymore. The question everyone keeps asking is simple but uncomfortable. What happens next for them? What do you do when the door you close turns out to lock from the other side? Meghan believed she walked away from the crown, never imagining the crown could walk away from her too. This isn't about cruelty or temperament. William isn't some harsh figure driven by anger. By all accounts, he's known to be kind, thoughtful, and deeply respected by his staff. Many of them stay loyal long after their roles end. That's what makes this moment so striking. This isn't impulsive. It's deliberate. Reports circulating in the British press suggest the king may be considering removing the Sussexes' titles altogether. Not as an emotional reaction, but as a constitutional response. And the timing matters. This comes after yet another wave of allegations, stories, and insinuations aimed at the royal family, including the king himself and the Princess of Wales. The public is asking whether this is finally a line being drawn. Let's be honest, the couple didn't quietly step away from royal life. Their exit left damage. The family was portrayed as cold and unwelcoming. The institution was accused of serious wrongdoing. Private conversations became public talking points. Personal moments were reshaped into dramatic reenactments for global audiences. Even William was recast as a villain in narratives he never answered. Every time things seemed to settle, another reveal appeared, perfectly timed, keeping the conflict alive. Behind the scenes, something changed. When Queen Elizabeth passed, Charles didn't just inherit the crown, he inherited a crisis. And William, no longer shielded as the future heir, stepped into a new role. The old approach of silence no longer fit. The monarchy began responding in the only way that couldn't be spun or reframed, through protocol, paperwork, and structure. When William becomes king, and he's already preparing for that reality, the message is becoming clearer. It's not about assigning or removing roles. It's about absence, a quiet erasure. No statements, no engagement, no path back into the fold. Just a firm boundary. At the coronation, the symbolism was impossible to ignore. Seating, placement, tone, all of it spoke volumes. It showed how far things have shifted. Some say there's always a chance for reconciliation, but insiders are far less optimistic. What's happening now feels permanent. There's talk of formal petitions, discussions about titles, and reminders that Parliament doesn't control royal styles or honors. These decisions sit within the institution itself. And that's exactly where William is now operating. Calmly, precisely, with restraint that feels sharper than any public confrontation. Those watching William closely over the past 2 years have noticed the change. The warmth remains when he's in public, but behind palace walls, aides describe someone intensely focused, strategic, almost clinical in his decision-making, not unkind, but unwavering. One insider described him as a leader who will do what must be done, even when it's painful. And for William, this became deeply personal when his wife was drawn into the storm. That was the turning point. This is no longer the brother who hoped for harmony or believed in a united front. The optimism of those early days is gone. He watched everything unravel in real time, from interviews to books to dramatized retellings that pulled his family apart piece by piece. He didn't retaliate. He didn't argue in public. He adapted. He learned the lesson every future monarch eventually learns. Protect the institution, even when it hurts. And now he's acting on that principle with quiet resolve. This isn't revenge. It's restraint. It's the royal version of consequences delivered without spectacle. And it tells you exactly where things stand now. There is no explosion, no dramatic announcement, just a steady closing of doors. He's not someone you want to challenge lightly. He's not someone you cross and expect things to blow over. Sources close to the palace say William views the monarchy like a living system that must stay healthy. And when something threatens it, decisive action is required before the damage spreads. And unfortunately for Harry and Meghan, that belief now defines how they are seen. This isn't rumor or online chatter. Parliament has formally responded to public demands regarding royal titles, and while it clarified limits on its authority, the message was unmistakable. The pressure is real, the scrutiny is real, and the patience is gone. Inside Buckingham Palace, a quiet phrase has been circulating among aides. It's spoken softly, almost politely, but the meaning behind it is unmistakable. The sun is setting over Montecito, and it isn't rising again. At first, it sounded like just another cryptic royal saying. But the more insiders repeat it, the clearer it becomes. This isn't about temporary distance. It's about permanence. Reconciliation, in their view, is no longer something the family plans for. It's a hope the public holds on to, not a strategy the palace prepares. William is respected deeply by the people who work with him. Many of his former staff still advise him, still communicate with him, still remain loyal. That respect exists because they know both sides of him. He's fair, but he's firm. Calm, but capable of being unyielding when a line is crossed. From the palace perspective, Harry and Meghan didn't simply step back. They escalated. Each interview, each revelation, each carefully produced project widened the gap. And while the world focused on headlines, the palace focused on the future. Energy was redirected. Priorities were reset. Attention shifted toward the heirs who actually want to carry the responsibility forward. The focus now is singular. William, Catherine, and their children. The future king. The next generation. The institution is narrowing its lens, not widening it. There is no room for an overseas branch that functions more like a commercial label than a working part of the family. Senior aides are blunt about this. If Meghan wanted her children raised within the royal world, that door required participation, not distance. Privately, many within royal circles believe Harry is holding on to an illusion, thinking he can fully separate royal legacy from royal life while still benefiting from the association. The palace no longer shares that view. To them, titles are not accessories. They are responsibilities. Charles, ever the traditionalist, has stopped pretending otherwise. His latest move didn't come out of nowhere. It's the final note in a long composition that's been playing quietly for years. Nothing about this is sudden. Behind the scenes, the real pressure point isn't protocol. It's money. People close to the Sussex circle quietly admit there's financial stress beneath the polished exterior. The confident public image masks growing uncertainty. The once promising media deals that were supposed to fund a new empire haven't delivered. The momentum stalled. Projects faded. Ambitious plans never fully materialized. Without a steady, powerful income stream, Montecito begins to feel less like a dream home and more like a very expensive clock counting down. Meghan built her post-royal image on proximity to the monarchy. Prestige, status, association. Remove that foundation, and the structure weakens fast. What remains is a brand without a clear direction. A public figure without a defining role. Hollywood, as insiders know well, doesn't wait patiently. When relevance fades, the silence is immediate and unforgiving. That's why the king's decision landed so heavily. It wasn't just symbolic. It directly challenged the value of the Sussex name. Without royal status reinforcing it, the shine dulls quickly. And in an industry driven by image, that matters more than anything. Many believe Meghan has never truly defined who she is outside the royal connection. And now, as William quietly tightens the boundaries, that chapter is coming to an end. No number of articles can fix a story that doesn't even line up with itself. Meghan can't keep her own timeline straight. One moment it's a childhood memory at 11 years old. Then the facts surface and the commercial she referenced aired when she was 12. It seems small, but these details matter when credibility is already under pressure. The public notices, and once they do, they don't forget. Her biggest struggle right now isn't the palace. It's identity. Hollywood doesn't know where to place her anymore, and neither does she. The actress label no longer fits. The Duchess title feels out of place every time it's used outside the UK. The podcast chapter ended before it ever found its footing. The wellness vision never connected with a real audience. And then came the internet's cruel sense of humor. A single jar of jam, priced with no explanation, turned her into a punchline overnight. A nickname spread faster than any carefully crafted press release ever could. What makes it harder is that she keeps returning to the same stories. The same short chapter of royal life she spent less than 2 years inside. She won't let it go, because without it, there's very little left holding the narrative together. Every time an assistant announces her title before a tiny meeting, the reaction online is immediate. The title that once felt powerful now lands awkwardly. What was meant to be armor has become a liability. This isn't just confusion. It's too many identities colliding at once with no clear direction forward. In Britain, the situation has grown even more strained. Harry continues to travel alone. Year after year, the same pattern. No Meghan, no children, no visible attempt at unity. He arrives, handles obligations, and leaves. He cites safety concerns, but the public no longer accepts that explanation without skepticism. The same question always follows. If the titles matter so much, why does Meghan never return to the country that gives those titles meaning? The contradiction is impossible to ignore. She uses the Duchess title freely when it benefits her image, yet avoids the place that anchors it in reality. It gives the impression that she wants the status without the structure, the recognition without the responsibility. From the palace's point of view, Harry's solo visits tell their own story. Each trip increases the emotional distance. Reconciliation feels less like a plan and more like wishful thinking. Meghan's continued absence isn't accidental. It's a decision, and everyone inside the institution understands that. Staff no longer ask if she's coming. The answer has become obvious. And every time she stays away, it reinforces the belief that she never intended to return in any meaningful way. Then came the development that changed everything. Updated succession guidelines. Quietly issued. Carefully worded. Almost clinical in their precision. No dramatic announcement. Just policy. The first requirement was clear. Any royal heir must spend the majority of their childhood in the UK under official royal oversight. The Sussex children do not. The second rule limited royal roles to children of working royals. Harry and Meghan stepped away years ago. The third requirement addressed citizenship. UK or dual citizenship is essential. The Sussex children do not meet that standard. 3 rules, all neutral on paper, all devastating in effect, and notably, they apply to only one branch of the family. Palace insiders insist it's coincidence. Few outside the walls believe that. There's no scenario where Meghan wouldn't see this as deliberate. And according to those close to the situation, she did exactly that. To her, this wasn't administration. It felt like punishment. The brilliance of the move, depending on who you ask, is that it can't be argued against. No shouting, no accusations, just requirements that cannot be met. It's the royal version of politeness wrapped around finality. Some call it strategic housekeeping, others call it cold. But for Meghan, it represents the very fear she's carried since leaving. the monarchy moving on without her. Not emotionally, not publicly, structurally. And once the structure changes, there is no appeal.